Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I am Chef Marcus Giuliano and I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is being eco-friendly. You know, there was just an article that came out, Thomas Keller and another Spanish chef, and Thomas Keller wrote the foreword in this guy's book, and both of them have fabulous restaurants. And I just want to say before I get into this, you know, I respect what Thomas Keller does. He's probably a nice guy. I don't know him personally. I have a lot of his books. I remember back in the late 90s buying, the French Laundry book, which is a phenomenal book. I just loved it. In fact, I thought it was one of the best cookbooks ever written because of the quality and the quantity of stuff that was in the book, and I just loved it. It told a lot of stories. It was really a phenomenal book, and he's followed up with some other really good books too. So it's not that I dislike Thomas Keller. I just want to talk about this article in the New York Times, and the LA Times picked it up a couple days later, and it's all over the place right now. And he basically says in here, and this is really disturbing, okay? This is really, really disturbing. And I don't know if he meant it like this, because sometimes when I get interviewed for the newspapers and you say something, it's put in a different way, and it's like, where in the world did this reporter come up with that? I don't know if the New York Times, if they proof, I haven't been in the New York Times yet, I don't know if they proof the authors. I know I was in a national magazine where they had a fact checker call and make sure that the statements I said were correct, and that everything was correct. And of course I went over everything, and it was. The reporter nailed it down the first time. So it was really good, and I respect that when on the reporter side, you actually check your facts again after you interview with the actual printed copy before it goes to print, because I've seen some disasters. Chef's obligation to save the planet, a lofty idea, they agreed, but the priority is to create brilliant food. Okay, that's the first statement that they both say. It's to create brilliant food, help save the planet. It's a lofty idea. Whatever industry and whatever job you're in, whatever you're producing, whatever you're manufacturing, whatever you do, it's impossible just to work the system one way. You have to worry about sustainability. You have to worry about replenishing resources, whether you're fishing or whether your business is operating, and producing plastic products or whatever. You have to make sure that enough sustainability is in there so you keep going. And of course, we're all small companies, so we all think, well, it's not my responsibility. These other companies, this and that. It's really everybody's responsibility. Everybody needs to do something right. And then they go on to say, with the relatively small number of people I feed, is it really my responsibility to worry about the carbon footprint? Mr. Keller asked. The world's government should worry about carbon footprint. Now this is where I really get upset and irate, because, it's all of our responsibilities. It's just, the governments don't do enough. First of all, our government here, Mr. Keller, if you're listening to this, is run by big corporations. Big corporations do not care. Their stockholders, they don't care. Their first priority is making money. They don't care about the environment. They might put stuff on their website, they might greenwash. I've seen a lot of big companies, and when I call them to ask them specifics, they can't back it up. They can't back their sourcing up. It's just disgusting. So you might think that it's government, but the government doesn't do anything, or barely anything. They do the least possible. If you think the government's responsible to do something, we would have had electric cars. We'd have steam compression cars years ago. I mean, this is technology that will really make a vast impact. So you can't take government guidelines and throw this off. I find this is just a disgusting, irresponsible statement. You're a chef. I'm a chef. We really have to look out for our resources. But here's the biggest problem. Not many people listen to me. Right now I'm getting like 30,000 views a month on YouTube. It's not much. Thomas Keller, people read his books, and if he says something like this, he's going to form opinions in young chefs and established chefs and seasoned chefs. He's going to form opinions. So yeah, he might not serve that many people, but when he makes a statement like that, there might be 50,000 chefs, 100,000 chefs that might look at it as advice and say, you know what, why should I worry about carbon footprint? And how many are they serving? This is just a really irresponsible statement, Thomas Keller. Just a really irresponsible statement coming from somebody who cooks brilliant food. You should really look at the full circle. Years ago, and I know he uses local producers, I know he's a nice guy, I know he does that, because he did a rebuttal and he listed specific farmers that he uses, and one farmer is across the street from him in California, and that's all great. That's really good. But I'll talk about that. But as far as, the government doing stuff, it's just not enough as far as you impacting. You impact a lot of people. So you really have to be careful of what you say. You might serve a small amount of people. You might only serve 100, 200 people a day in 2 locations or 300. But if you're impacting 50,000 chefs or even 500 chefs that are serving the same amount as you or double the amount as you, that's a lot of people. That's a really lot of people. The more us chefs speak up, the more we demand sustainability from our vendors, whether it's a paper product or whatever it is, the more we demand it, the more we want it, the more they're going to provide it. Years ago when I first discovered this whole sustainability issue, I thought cooking brilliant food was it. And I worked at some of the best restaurants out there, and I went to London, I worked for Pierre Kaufman, which was a Michelin 3-star. I worked at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. I learned how to really cook at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, and we were cooking some phenomenal food. But the amount of waste and everything coming out of these places is just disgusting. So when I was able to have full reign of a kitchen in Colorado, my very first kitchen, it was like, wow, you start working with farmers, right? Which is great. It's the first time you start working with farmers, you start working with local food. But then when you start to realize who that farmer is and sit in his shoes and really get the full circle, and then you understand how valuable their land is and what they do on their land to preserve it and sustainability factors. When you please the opposite end of the spectrum, it's great to please the customers that are sitting in your tables. That's where it's at. That's where your money's at. But when you can turn around and please all of your suppliers and treat them just as with much respect as a customer, it's an amazing difference. And I have suppliers. I have suppliers, distilleries and everything, they're just amazed by our Spirit program here because I try not to use big brands. I don't shop in Walmart personally, so why would I support Budweiser beer in my restaurant? It doesn't make sense. I live and breathe, I have to be one of the most luckiest people out there because what I believe in my personal life, I actually get to live in my restaurant. My wife and I both get to live it. And it's an amazing, not to compromise our beliefs, our qualities, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I got to tell you, I'm very opinionated on big companies and big corporations and corporate America, and I don't want to support that. I really don't. I want to support a small independent producer. And you look at my bar, 300 different spirits, I have new bartenders that come into work or that apply here. People walk in and they go, I don't recognize anything behind your bar. Where do you get all this stuff? Yeah, it takes work to do it, and it takes a lot of networking and communicating and meeting with people, but it's a lot of fun, and that's really where my passion is. Not only in that, but everywhere across the board. So, so Mr. Keller again says, well, what restaurant isn't farm to table? Well, there's a lot of restaurants that aren't farm to table. I think about quality, not geography, and that's really important too. I like the second part of his statement because if you're in New Jersey, if you're outside of New York City, Budweiser beer is local. You got the factory there in Newark. That's local. But that's not quality. So I understand the fact that you have to source things from around the globe. For us, our big thing is we try to source as much locally as possible. We use United States olive oil. We try to use a lot of things that are U.S. produced, but it's so hard. But let's face it, cognac only comes from Cognac, France. People want Bordeaux wine, I have to get it from Bordeaux. But we still have to handpick the suppliers that are all across. So him and I are on the same wavelength as that. It's about quality, not geography. The closer the better. And of course, when we were in Italy a few years ago, we learned something called 0 kilometers. And that was the term that all these small little restaurants were saying. How close can we get the food to the source from the restaurant? 0 kilometers, 0 kilometers. That's their goal, closest to possible. So, with their restaurants, this is the New York Times also says, with their restaurants may be accessible to only 0.1%, but who they influence is far more than that 0.1% that they actually have access to go eat that can afford their restaurants. I've never been in any of Thomas Keller's restaurants. I would love to go. I'll still go in. Like I said, I have nothing against him, but I just think that he needs to really watch what he says, especially to the New York Times, or watch how that's construed, because that's going to influence a lot of people. And it says here, it influences the entire global food community, the way we think, write, tweet, and talk about food, not just the way we cook food. So he did a rebuttal, and he did good in talking about the food sources that he sources some of his food from. And he mentioned some phenomenal farms and the relationships he has with them. But true sustainability is not just about the food you purchase in a restaurant. It's about a whole other aspect of things. You know, environmental issues are huge. You know, us restaurateurs, us restaurant owners, we're one of the leading contributors to the environment, to the depletion of the environment. So, I mean, whatever we do, really, we've got to watch, and there's so many different things. You know, water pollution, deforestation, you know, where's our coffee coming from? It just goes. Climate change, loss of biodiversity. Disposable products are a huge category. Disposable products, you know, the paper, the plastics we use, the glass we use. Sure, a lot of us recycle, but is recycling enough? How about reusing? We do a lot of reusing here, where we take empty, you know, big gallon bottles and these flip-top 360 vodka bottles that are phenomenal, because we get to reuse them instead of putting them into a recycle bin. Now I give these bottles to like my maple syrup producer, and he repacks all of our maple syrup in there. A lot of people see those nice flip-top bottles, like the Grolsch top bottles. We don't buy Grolsch because Grolsch is a Budweiser product, but 360, they have these flip-up top bottles, like the Grolsch bottle. And customers love these. Can I have one? Can I have one? Would you sell me one? I'm like, I'll give you one as long as you're going to use it and keep reusing it. And we've never thrown one single 360 vodka bottle away. And we buy a lot of 360 vodka here. Styrofoam, huge factor. Chemicals that we use to clean, chemicals that come in the food supply, organic, stuff like that. Candles, you know, burning candles as opposed to a little electric rechargeable candle goes a long way. It's a big difference in resources. Chafing fuel for our sterno fuel for our chafing dishes. And there's all sorts of things with the dishwasher, what we clean our tables with. We clean our tables here with a mixture of rosemary, thyme, cinnamon, and it smells like a pumpkin pie spice, and it's very, very disinfecting. And it's wonderful when you spray that out in the dining room, because nothing smells like a chemical. We use vinegar for our windows. You know, so I would have loved to see Thomas Keller really mention more sustainability besides just the food that's going on the plate. Maybe he's doing it. You know, maybe he's out there, maybe he's doing it. Maybe the article just didn't have enough space to mention his rebuttal to the fullest. I don't know. Again, I don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice guy, nothing against him. Just, you know, maybe it's all, you know, the way this was written, I don't know. But the record really needs to be straight here. You know, your building is a huge fact. You know, LED lighting, the energy you use, low flow water aerators, low flow toilets, all these things make a huge difference. And waste, recycling, reusing, composting. So there's a lot of different elements, Thomas Keller, if you did not mention it, that can go into making a sustainable restaurant. Of course, we're not all perfect. You know, in my opinion, those sustainable restaurants are the ones that don't cook. Those are raw food restaurants. They don't have to worry about cooking oil. They don't have to worry about propane. It's just, you know, it's a matter of serving raw, pure, fresh food, maybe juice, a lot of juices, smoothies, things like that. But there's a lot of awesome raw foods out there now in New York City. I mean, all over the country, they're popping up like crazy. And those restaurants, you know, I feel that frying oil is just a huge, massive detriment. You know, the way they grow oil, the way it's manipulated, the genetically modified. They use hexane gas to, you know, not many people are using expeller pressed hexane gas free oil inside a fryer to fry things or to cook with. You know, we happen to use all expeller pressed oils in my restaurant because I don't want hexane gas. You know, who wants any kind of extra chemical in their food supply? So there's a lot of things here. You know, I could go on and on because this is really my passion, sustainability. I was one of the first certified green restaurants in upstate New York. I've been doing this for probably 12 years. I've been certified for 6 years. I only got certified because I wanted to, you know, you see a lot of restaurants that put things on their website. It happened here to another local place. They put things, we're green, we're this, we're that, and when you start talking with them, they're not doing any of it, or they're doing a very small fraction. But the average consumer says, oh, that's a green restaurant, or they're doing green things. So I said, you know what, for me, getting certified was the most important thing. Maybe Thomas Keller is certified. Maybe he is meeting all these steps. Maybe he is. I don't know that. I haven't looked up to see if he's on that list. I wouldn't doubt if he was. There's a lot of really high-end restaurants, like Mario Batali's restaurants, are all certified green. Five Napkin Burger, which is an awesome upscale burger place. The Tour de France group in New York City is all green certified. So there's really lots of nice restaurants that are doing green certified. But I did it because I wanted to have it justified. I didn't want to be one of those people out there just saying, well, I do this and I do that. The Green Restaurant Association or other type associations or or reviewers or certifiers, actually is the word I'm trying to say. They go through all your invoices. They make sure, you know, I had to sign a waiver. They can call any one of my vendors at any time and pull an invoice, any invoice, and see if I'm buying the chemicals that I say I'm not buying, or buying the proper fish or the proper meats or the organic items. So it's really a way of getting in depth and a way for me to be transparent to the Green Restaurant Association and say, yes, Marcus, you are doing the right thing. So, like I said, nothing against Thomas Keller. You know, maybe he's doing it, maybe he's not, but I feel that he should have at least expressed himself better in that article, because he does affect a lot of people. As a young chef, I was totally affected by Thomas Keller. I mean, that was like, wow, this guy's got a perfect restaurant. It's every chef's dream to be sold out 6 months ahead of time and be using all these local producers and everything. So I'd like to hear the rest of the story from him and see what he's actually doing, so I can be a little more at ease. You know, a lot of I still have role models, even though, you know, I'm an established restaurateur. I still look up to a lot of chefs and a lot of restaurateurs for ideas, and just I respect a lot of these guys out there with what they're doing. So I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, share it. If you're concerned about where you're eating, go to the Green Restaurant, dinegreen.com, and you can really see who's doing the right thing. I also like a website called realtimefarms.com, and that's a farm-to-table website where you can see where all of the restaurants are sourcing their food from. It's all graphed out with pins across maps. It's really, really cool. It talks about the farms, the producers, the suppliers, and the restaurants. So happy eating, happy sustainable eating. Thanks for watching.